So picture this, my entire crypto plan hanging on two price points. XRP is trading in this ridiculously tight range between $2.65 and $3.65. And I feel like I'm holding my breath waiting to see which side breaks first. Will it nosedive below $2.65 and wreck my day? Or is it going to explode past $3.65 and, well, make crypto history? Well, no one told me being an XRP holder would feel like watching a thriller on fast forward. So here I am, on a Tuesday night, pacing around my living room, refreshing the price on my phone like it's a heartbeat monitor. It's a true story, right? I've got a decent bag of XRP and I've been through enough ups and downs with it to know, one thing. Right now, everything is just noise until XRP either breaks below $2.65 or above $3.65. At least that's what a smart analyst has said. And honestly, I'm starting to believe him because every headline, every tweet, every little kind of price wiggle in between all of these numbers is just driving me insane. Now, I needed answers to all of this. I wanted to know exactly what could, happen next, bull or bear, moon or doom. So I went down another rabbit hole, digging into charts, lurking on crypto Twitter, and even hopping into our free educational Discord server to swap the theories. And boy, did I find some interesting takes. So first off, let me set the stage here. Right, XRP's been kind of a drama queen lately, right? A month ago, it was, riding high, and then it kind of started slipping. Over the past month, it kind of bled out 11% of its value. 11% in crypto terms is a casual Tuesday, but still, it stings when you check your portfolio and see that much red. Now, earlier this month, on August 3rd, I watched it plunge to around $2.74. And I remember that drop because my heart definitely skipped a beat or two. Since then, it bobbed back up and has been kind of hovering near $3. Now, as of today, it's actually up a little bit, around $3.02 at the point of recording, roughly a 1.5% bump in 24 hours. It's not bad, right? But that little kind of rise, trimmed the weekly loss, to about 3 to 4%. But here's the kicker, right? After all of that drama, we're still smack back in the middle of that $2.65 to $3.65 range. It's kind of like crypto purgatory, neither here nor there. There's just this kind of suspenseful limbo. Now this range, $2.65 to $3.65, is like XRP's current cage. And I get this insight from a crypto analyst who goes by the name of 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗍. And honestly, I hadn't heard of 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰 and at least much lately. But suddenly his chart was all over my feed like it was a treasure map to XRP's future. Now naturally, I had to check it out, right? He basically said that XRP is trading in a macro corridor, right? Floor is $2.65 and ceiling is at $3.65. So think of those two big milestones then, maybe the goal line on the field. Inside that, we're just churning, right? So you might be thinking, why $2.65 and $3.65 specifically? Well, 𝗗𝗗𝘀𝗰𝗍, believes that $2.65 isn't just some random spot. It could actually be the grand finale in a 5-wave corrective pattern. Sounds pretty fancy, I know, but in plain English that means that $2.65 or $2.65 might be the point where this whole pullback completes, like the bears might finally be done beating us down to that level. On the flip side, $3.65 is the promised land for the bulls, right? If buyers can push XRP up to $3.65, it would signal some serious strength. The kind of strength that says, okay, all-time highs or new all-time highs might actually be on the menu. Now that $3.65 is 𝗗𝗗𝘀𝗰𝗍's long-term bullish target for now. Basically the top rail of his range ride, if you will. Now, when I first read that, I kind of smirked just a little bit, right? A new all-time high, XRP, right? Part of me was like, I'll believe it when I see it. Now, for context, XRP's all-time high was around that kind of $3.50 to $3.80 way back in 2017's mania. Now, we haven't really been in that zone for a long time, but 𝗗𝗗𝘀𝗰𝗍 is dead serious here. In fact, a week ago, he actually went a step further to predict a 777% surge for XRP, targeting around $28. And yes, you did hear that right, $28. So when I saw that, I nearly, of course, spit out my coffee. I don't do that spit takes anymore. It sounded like pure hopium though, right? But hey, this is crypto land and crazy things can happen. I'm not holding my breath for $28 anytime soon, but it's a wild and admittedly exciting to know that some analysts are thinking that big. All right then, so the big picture then, right? We're in this kind of tight range between $2.65 and $3.65, waiting for a breakout in either direction. Now let's zoom in just a little bit here because there are some key levels inside that range that have become my kind of obsession. Now the biggest one is around $2.90. Now you might be thinking, why is $2.90 so important? Well, $2.90 is like the line in the sand right now. Now 𝗗𝗀𝘀𝗰 noted that if XRP logs a full-bodied close below $2.90, on a 4-hour candle, for example, then odds are that we're slide straight down to $2.65. Not a quick dip and bounce, but a solid kind of close under the support. And guess what? We haven't seen the price hit $2.65 in a while. So the last time was actually on August 3rd when it bottomed out at around $2.74. So if we get there again, it means that this correction is extending deeper than many had actually hoped for. And I'll be honest, knowing that made me a little extra vigilant, right? I basically started a kind of vigil for the $2.90 mark. I set price alerts on my phone and I had chats open like I was monitoring a rocket launch. Now, if you caught me at 2 a.m. last night, I was staring at a 4-hour candlesticks, begging them not to turn into a big red bar through $2.90. I even had my Kraken Pro app open on standby just in case. Now, by the way, I use Kraken Pro for trading and the link is in the description. And that link, it's an affiliate link that supports the channel. Now, there I was, right, watching the order book, watching the $2.90 area like a hawk. It's kind of funny in hindsight because me trying not, or at least trying to, I guess, will the market to stay up, as if I had some kind of telepathic powers over the candles, right? But here's a spoiler alert. I don't. But luckily, of course, during that watch, XRP didn't break the $2.90 area. Crisis averted, at least for the moment. Now, on the upside, right, we've got our own set of hurdles to clear. A whole staircase of them, in fact, right? The first was actually getting back above the $3 level, that nice round number. We did manage that. It kind of felt good psychologically. Next up, 𝗗𝗀𝘀𝗰 does call out $3.13 and $3.20 as key checkpoints. Kind of oddly specific numbers, I know. They're probably based on technical indicators or past price pivots. Now, I think of them like video game save points or checkpoints, little milestones on the road to recovery. So if XRP can, of course, close above $3.20, 𝗗𝗀𝘀𝗰 says that it would likely strengthen the case that we have momentum again, and it would reduce the risk of another nasty drop. Basically, above $3.20, I can breathe a little bit easier, and that we might actually not immediately faceplant back to those lows. Now, from there, the next boss fight is around kind of $3.45. Now that level is significant because it's near the peak that we hit in early August before we went south. Now I vividly recall that pump. Now XRP was on a tear. It hit around $3.45 and then bam, it got smacked down. So $3.45 is like an unfinished business, right? Beating that would basically be like revenge for early August. And if we can conquer $3.45, then it's onwards to the final boss at $3.65. We've talked about $3.65 already. That's the top of the macro range and basically the gateway to new highs. Now, if XRP can smash through $3.65, even 𝗗𝗀𝘀𝗰 suggests it could mark the start of fresh all-time high rally. That's huge, right? That's the moment that we're all, waiting for, and kind of, I guess, whining could turn into celebration, right? So, now, I have two competing visions in my head then. We've got vision A, right, which is bullish. XRP holds above $2.90, buyers step on in, and we start climbing those stairs. $3.13, $3.20, $3.45, knocking them out one by one. Eventually, maybe it kind of takes a week or so, or a month maybe, but we break $3.65. If that happens, oh boy, right? You might actually hear me screaming joy on a live stream because, yeah, above $3.65 is largely uncharted territory in the recent years. And that's where those wild predictions start to at least feel more possible. So I'm not saying, we'd shoot straight to $28 or anything like that, but breaking out of this range is significant, and it often kind of signals the start of a big move. Maybe it's $5 next, maybe it's $10 over time, who knows? At the very least, a break upwards would be a validation for all us XRP holders that aren't crazy for believing. Now, Vision B, this is the bearish one, on the other hand, right? It is a nightmare scenario. That's kind of where XRP can't hold the line, and $2.90 it cracks. And this is kind of time. It's kind of not a false alarm, maybe, right? We get a decisive 4-hour candle below that $4.90 area. Now, in this scenario, I imagine waking up to a big red kind of blotch on the chart that we'd likely tumble straight down to around the test, the $2.65 lows, support pretty quickly. Right, because there's not much really holding it up in between. And if that doesn't hold, well, if $2.65 breaks, then, the trapdoor does open. The next stop identified in the charts is going to be around $2.34. That would be a deeper correction than most of us expected within a few weeks ago, right? At $2.34, we'd probably be confirming that the bears have extended their lease on XRP's price, so to speak. Now, it would definitely shake a lot of people out of the market, and I can already see crypto Twitter in that scenario. Absolute panic, people screaming, XRP is dead, again, of course, memes about sinking ships, the whole 9 yards. Now, for me personally, it would just hurt. My portfolio would be down significantly, but, just maybe a week or so ago prior. But, I can't believe I am saying this. A part of me has to brace for that possibility too. Now, I'm not alone in this mental kind of tug of war, right? A lot of people are watching these exact levels and drawing similar conclusions. On our Discord, we had a spirited debate about all of this just yesterday, right? Some are in, the kind of we're going up camp, and others are firmly in the we're going down camp. It's kind of like we're all kind of binge watching a show and wildly predicting the finale. And this time, it's kind of like this, right? It helps to get perspective from different analysts that I follow, just to kind of sanity check my own views. Now, one of those guys is Crypto Tony. He is the more optimistic side, with a caveat, of course. Tony basically said that XRP structure is still fine as long as it holds, above the weekly support level of $3 mark. In other words, zoom out to the weekly chart and don't freak out about every single wiggle. As long as the price, as $3 zone, holds on the weekly close basis, well, the broader trend can remain bullish or at least constructive. Now, he urged patience here, right, which I know is kind of the last or the least kind of exciting thing, I guess, and the last thing we want to hear, when we're waiting for big moves. But he's got a point. If the support lines were established, or at least that we established back in January, continue to hold, then this could just be a healthy pause before the big upside. Now, then there's Crypto King. Now, this guy kind of amped up the excitement again. Now, according to Crypto King, XRP might be gearing up for a move into the $4.50 to $5 range. Yep, he's eyeing up the mid $4 ranges, which is, above the beloved, or our beloved, kind of $3.65 resistance, and then some, right? Now, he even referenced another analyst, 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰, right, who apparently predicted a rather similar target for Q2 2026. So there's a kind of contingent of analysts out there basically saying this consolidation is just a spring coiling up. When it pops, it could actually go hard to the upside. Crypto King pointed out a long-term wedge formation on the charts that suggests that the case for further upside actually is there. Wedges often mean price is winding up for a decisive break, and if that break is upwards, it can be explosive. And here is the part that really kind of grabbed me. Crypto King reminded everyone that he himself has a huge bet on the table. He took an $80,000 long position on XRP at around 80 cents about 10 months ago. and he is still holding it. Today, $3 price target, you know, that kind of position is kind of 3x over 270% profit so far, plus a little bit of leverage. That's pretty decent, right? So not too bad. Now I saw that and I thought, man, I wish I could have been that bold. But it kind of gave me confidence that someone with that much skin in the game isn't backing down and is actually thinking that we go higher, right? He even said that XRP might not be done printing upwards, his word. I love that phrase, by the way. Conjures an image of a kind of money printer spewing green candles. It's kind of a bit kind of tongue-in-cheek, but it kind of signals that he thinks the uptrend isn't finished yet. And you know what? I'll say it. This might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. It's important that you do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video today is for entertainment, with all the rain, and educational purposes only. All right, so that was with our reality check out of the way. Back to our kind of regularly scheduled program. So by this point in my investigation, it's late at night. My room is lit by the glow of my laptop and I have 5 different charts tabs open. And my cat is eyeing me like, dude, go to bed. I'm kind of riding this emotional roller coaster then. One minute I'm imagining that huge breakout and feeling FOMO that I didn't buy more at $2.80. And the next minute I'm biting my nails thinking that the price is slipping into the $2.50s and the chaos would ensue. It's not healthy, right? I know. But if you've ever been this deep into a crypto trenches, you'll know the feeling. Now, I had to get a bit of a flashback here to 2018 at one point because I remember XRP, you know, and the whole market crashing after the last bull run and how painful that was. A little part of me is kind of always whispering, careful, we've been here before. But then there's the other part of me like, no, this time is different. New developments, new market dynamics, cognitive kind of dissonance at its finest work, right? So there I was then, last night, practically watching the charts like a suspenseful thriller. And then a crucial moment came. On those 4-hour candles was closing and the price was teetering close right around that $2.90. I'm literally leaning forward on my chair, heart is pounding. This was it. Do or die for that support, at least for that night. The clock ticks, the candle closes, and I stare at the price, and then the price is $2.91. It closes above $2.90 by a single hair. And I'm not gonna lie, I let out a little bit of relief, a sigh of relief. It kind of felt like watching your team defend a penalty kick in overtime, and they just barely saved it. That was the climax of my night, and not with a bang, but with a almost unpredictable kind of move that kind of kept hope alive. The volume was high too, so I saw a big spike in trading volume on Kraken Pro and the exchanges around that time. It tells me that this wasn't just the only one glued to the screen. There was a lot of buyers, a lot of people like me, and sellers were throwing down, right, defending their positions, right? Maybe one of those big whales, you know, decided to step in and scoop up XRP to prop it above $2.90, or maybe a bunch of retail traders like me just converged. Either way, the participation was strong, which is actually a positive sign. High volume means there's interest and conviction. It's like fuel for whichever direction the price action is going to be going, hopefully up in our case, right? And after this adrenaline rush, I had to take a step back and laugh at myself just a little bit. As here I am, right? I'm losing sleep over a couple of price points. And it's kind of, I can personally kind of influence on the outcome of by my sheer will, right? It's absurd. All of it is absurd. But it also shows just how emotionally invested we can all get in cryptocurrency. I remember myself doing something often like this, right? Until XRP decisively kind of breaks between $2.65 and $3.65, all of the interim drama is just noise. If anything, we should just be zooming out. So I'm just going to be refocusing on the bigger picture. I've got a game plan, right? And now that instead of just the raw nerves I have, I can set some alerts on key price levels that I don't have, you know, constantly stare at the chart all the time. And if we do drop under $2.90 decisively again, then I'll know, right? And I'll make judgment call then. maybe I'll hedge a little bit, brace for a little bit of a dip, all that kind of stuff. Maybe I'll buy more dollar cost average, right? All that kind of good stuff. I also popped back into the Discord server. It's completely free, it's educational, the link is in the description. And we just chatted with people there, right? Started war stories over nights watching charts and all of that kind of stuff. Eventually I realized something. I can't control the market, but I can control how I react to it. XRP is going to do what it's going to do. It's going to break up, it's going to break down, and maybe just keep chilling in this range longer than anyone expects. My job is to be prepared and to not wreck myself emotionally or financially in the process. If it pumps, great, I'll ride the wave to the next highs. If it dumps, then I can accumulate more if I want to. And honestly, this whole experience on the kind of waiting, the nail biting, the research, all of it is kind of why I love crypto, right? I mean, it's stressful, sure, but don't get me wrong, but it's never boring, right? It kind of forces you to learn, to manage your emotions and, to do your own research. One way or another, right, we'll get the answer to this $2.65 versus $3.65 question. And I have a feeling that when XRP makes its move, it's going to be big. So will it rocket to $5 and beyond, or is it a gut-wrenching slide to $2 range? I wish I knew, but one thing's for sure. I'm going to be here with popcorn in hand and a heart in my throat. So for now, you can hit the subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next one.